Welcome on in, everybody, and welcome back to another video on the channel. My name is Absolute Illusion. You can also call me Colton. It's a lot easier to say. We are back with another 2021 NFL mock draft on the channel with a new guest in this episode. Is this an episode? Would you call an NFL mock draft an episode? I don't know.
I would.
I don't know. But with me is my good friend, Steve. Steve, would you like to introduce yourself?
So, some of you may have noticed me through some streams. I'm Steve Barnie. I'm a longtime supporter and friend of Colton.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have a YouTube.
He's still always. If you've ever been to any of the streams of like myself or like Mikey or, oh my gosh, she's gonna kill me. Oh my gosh, I need to cut that out. Future me, cut that out. Cut that out. I just forgot M's name. Future me, cut it out.
Future Colton, leave that in.
But yeah, if you've ever been in any of our streams, you've obviously seen Steve. He is everywhere. He's always super supportive of everybody. He's a big football fan, just like myself. So I wanted to bring him in on this and kind of see what kind of his views on some of these picks are. I need to make a disclaimer again, and I'm going to do it in every football video I ever post. We are not professionals. Okay, we are not professionals. This is just our own personal views, where we think people would go, where we might think something cool if it were to happen, if they were to go in certain places. You know, that's all this is. It's just for fun. It's just to see kind of where we think people could end up, our thoughts on the matter and everything. So if you guys do enjoy the video, make sure you guys hit the like button, subscribe to the channel as well. We're trying to get to 800 subs and then eventually 1K. It would be greatly appreciated if you would do that. But without further ado, we'll hop in here. Steve is going to be taking the odd picks in this one. I took the odd picks in the last one with Mikey, so he will be doing the odd ones, and I will be taking the even ones. Where are we going number one overall?
First overall pick, we Jags. There is a 99% chance they take Trevor Lawrence number one. The only chance I see them not taking him is he is set to have a left labrum surgery in his shoulder, and if something catastrophic happens and he can't play for a few years, that's the only way they don't take him.
Yeah, I have a feeling it's probably going to be okay, because I guess I'm not 100% confident on a left labrum surgery, but from what I was understanding, it's not a overly crazy surgery.
No.
But if something does go wrong, that is the only way that I see that this pick is not 100% correct. Trevor Lawrence is head and shoulders above every other quarterback in this class. So this is where I believe you and I are going to differ. Where you think number two will go, where I think number two will go. A lot of people have the Jets taking a wide receiver. A lot of people have them taking a quarterback. Nobody has them taking a corner ever. That will never happen. They will never take a corner with this pick, even though it's their number 3 need, because there's not a single corner on this list that deserves this pick. Unless they trade out. That's another thing. We will not be doing trades in this one. I will eventually be doing trades in some of these videos down the road once we get into the offseason more and once things start to get a little bit more concrete on kind of the prospects. And sorry about that, guys. I messed up. I clicked out of it somehow. I don't know how I did it. But where we were is we were talking about how the cornerback will never be a pick here. They will either go wide receiver with this pick or quarterback, or they will trade out of this pick if there's another team who really wants a quarterback. A lot of people will look at it like, well, they have Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold is a good quarterback. However, with a new coaching staff coming in on this, to this team and everything, I don't see any reason for them not to take their future at a quarterback position with a quarterback that they truly want. That's the only reason I don't think that they go with Sam Darnold. I like Sam Darnold. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. I think they trade Sam Darnold in all reality, because there's a lot of teams who would love to have Sam Darnold. He could be a really great quarterback. He was just in a super crappy situation, given probably the worst head coach ever.
Oh, yeah.
Did you say that's correct?
Adam Gase was a train wreck.
He's probably the worst head coach I've ever seen. I don't even know how he was a head coach.
He got a recommendation by Peyton Manning.
What?
Yeah,
Excuse me?
yeah.
Peyton, what are you
So
doing?
the Jets asked Peyton Manning, "Hey, what do you think of this guy?" And he goes, "Oh, I loved him. He was a great QB coach."
I mean, he probably
And
is a great QB coach. Not a
yep,
head coach.
no.
With this pick though, I do believe that they will go quarterback, and I think they're gonna go with the number 2 quarterback in the draft. A lot of people, will say who's, what the number 2 actually is. Personally, I believe Zach Wilson is the number 2 quarterback in this draft. He is better than Justin Fields. He can stay in the spotlight just like Justin Fields. He's not one to shy away from spotlight or anything. He has much more technical ability than Trey Lance. Trey Lance, I think, has a higher upside than Zach Wilson, possibly. Like, Trey Lance's upside is sky high, but he really has to be able to prove himself. So I think the Jets go Zach Wilson here. Number 3, Dolphins. What do we got?
So the Dolphins, they're not going to take a QB.
Mm,
There's no way.
mm.
They're going to stick with Tangalovola. What they need desperately is a true number 1 wide receiver.
I like
Devontae
that.
Parker is not that answer.
No, this is a great number 2 though.
Correct.
This is a great
Which is
number 2.
why I'm going to pick not the number 1 overall wide receiver.
So not Jamar
I'm
Chase.
gonna no.
Okay.
I'm pick Devonta Smith.
Yep.
He plays bigger than his size. He is a perfect player for them because they can sub him in with the wideout, the flex, the slot, and he really excels in getting those short passes and working with the rack catches. So you can dump it off to him for 2 yards, but he'll get you 8,
Yes.
which is where Tua excels. It's not
Yep.
pushing the ball down the field,
Yep.
it's
It could be
getting a couple
eventually.
yards here and there.
Yeah. So number 4, Atlanta Falcons. This is an interesting pick here. Okay. There's a lot of people who might say, oh, they need an edge rusher, which they do. Atlanta needs a lot of defensive help. A lot of it. They need just about every defensive position on defense, I'd say. They could use help at every single level. Okay, so you look at guys like Kwity Paye, you look at Patrick Surtain there, and you're looking at them, you're like, okay, maybe they could go that. Maybe they could go Micah Parsons. You could maybe think about it. I don't think that's what they do. I think we're going to scroll, and they draft Trey Lance. Okay, for the sheer purpose of, I think at the end of the day, when you look at who has the higher upside between Trey Lance and Justin Fields, I think Trey Lance is a higher upside. And Trey Lance is not a quarterback who's going to start year 1. So if you let him sit behind Matt Ryan for 2 years, Trey Lance could be the next 10 to 15 years for your franchise. So I don't think they pass on that, with the possibility that Matt Ryan retires at the end of this year and they go into next year's draft class, which is very lacking in terms of quarterback strength. It is very, very lacking. I think they grab Trey Lance there. I think that you kind of have to, because you have to prepare for your future at that point.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. I mean, Trey Lance is great at pass game, obviously, but he can also rush it,
Yep.
which if you want to run a person heavy scheme like Buffalo did last year, where
Yeah.
you just have 5 out
All the time.
and
Don't run
all
the
the
ball
time, well, your quarterback runs it. That's where you get your 80
Yep.
yards a game.
Yep. It's like Lamar Jackson, pretty much. Except the Ravens run the ball all the time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
They run the ball so much. It's crazy.
they were scary in playoffs.
God, they were. So,
So
Cincinnati
the
Bengals.
Bengals,
They got Joe Burrow now.
Joe Burrow, who one game last year, his second start, had to throw 61 times.
So ridiculous.
He was sacked a lot, and he was eventually ended his season with a torn ACL.
Yep.
They are going to draft to protect their future.
Yes.
So many people would put Sewell
Yep. Penny Sewell.
for them, but I don't see it. He just seems like a big body, very low on technique. I think
You're
they're
gonna
gonna
have him take
go
Rashawn Slater.
Samuel
Oh,
Cosme.
Samuel Cosme. Wow. Ooh, I want to hear
He
this.
is
I want to hear it.
so he might not be the heaviest tackle in this draft at 300
Yep.
pounds.
He's 6
The
foot
average is
7 though.
like he's 6'7". I think his technique at working inside and out is unparalleled to any other offensive tackle in this draft.
Okay.
Where
Okay.
he's probably going to have to start at right tackle,
Okay.
but
Yeah.
given a year of developing his technique, he's going to move to the left tackle to protect the blind side. That, and he's great at zone blocking, which is going to work very well with Joe Mixon's running style.
Yep.
So you're killing two birds with one stone here.
Yep. That is a very,
Plus,
very interesting pick. I've never actually thought about them going with Samuel Cosme, but now that I'm like thinking about it, that is a pick that could make a lot of sense for them. Interesting, because I mean he is a very, very, very solid player. I have him as my tackle 3 or 4.
Yeah.
It's I probably have him at number 3. Christian Darrisaw is very, very good. I think there's a couple knocks on Christian Darrisaw's game though. But
Yeah, he seems like more of just a run blocker than a pass blocker.
If Samuel Cosme has a great pro or like a pro day, he could I could actually see this happening. Like they could realistically be like, "Hey, let's draft this guy. We believe he's our future right tackle for the first couple of years, maybe the first year, and then immediately switch him over to left tackle." I think that could be really, really intriguing. So with the 6th overall pick come the Philadelphia Eagles, who I have a very interesting relationship with, if you could call it that, between the Minnesota Vikings and the Philadelphia Eagles. Obviously, I can't take with the 31-7 or whatever, 38-7 when they crushed us in the NFC Championship. When they burned down their own city.
See, I don't really follow the Eagles that much.
I follow them for that sole reason. That and their quarterback, who might not even be their quarterback this next year, went to NDSU, which is not very far away from me.
Carson wants to get traded in like the next week or so.
Yeah, I think that could very realistically happen.
We
are back. Sorry, everybody. Had to take a brief intermission there. The Eagles, though. Eagles. They need a lot of help. They were bad. They were real bad.
The entire division was bad.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that division's terrible. A lot of people are probably mocking them with a wide receiver here. That kind of seems like the way for them to go. I've seen a couple mock drafts with them taking Micah Parsons. I don't like that pick for them. I don't like Micah Parsons to them. He doesn't fit their scheme. He doesn't fit the type of game that they play. So a lot of people are probably going to take wide receiver here. I am not. I am not going wide receiver to the Philadelphia Eagles. They are taking Kyle Pitts, the tight end out of Florida. And here's why. Kyle Pitts is the type of tight end that you see maybe once every decade, where he's not even a tight end at the end of the day. I wouldn't even consider him a tight end. He's a wide receiver. The guy can line up anywhere on the field. He can line up down in the three technique. Not three technique. He can line up down on the ground. He can line up out wide. He can line up in the slot. He's a physical freak unlike anything we've ever seen. Okay. The Eagles just drafted a wide receiver last year in Jalen Reagor. A lot of people would consider him a bust by now. I don't necessarily think that's true, though, because they had a super crappy situation. Them getting injured and all that kind of stuff. So I think that at the end of the day, they'd still really like him as one of their wide receivers. The biggest thing about the Eagles, though, is they love their 2 tight end sets. Okay, they have Dallas Goedert, and they have Zach Ertz. Zach Ertz's contract's up next year. and so is Dallas Goedert's. Both of their contracts are up the same year. I don't think they bring them both back. Zach Ertz is, 30 this upcoming year? I want to say.
I think he's 31.
Yeah, 30, 31, somewhere in that range. So the point is he's getting on in years. Obviously, you're going to keep Dallas Goedert if you have to choose between the two. I think taking Pitts here gives you that flexibility of setting him out wide as another wide receiver, which is a big need for them as wide receiver, and giving them that second tight end to work with once Zach Ertz is gone. Plus, you just took a once-in-a-generation type talent like Kyle Pitts. So I think that is where the Philadelphia Eagles go. This draft will be very different than the last one, obviously, as we can see, because this is already very, very different. But I think that's part of the fun of mock drafts, is kind of testing out the different things that you like.
Yeah, some of the notes I put into Kyle Pitts was he can play either the F tight end, which is you split out from the line slightly, or he can play just straight up the slot receiver role, which is amazing because he can also just slide in, put his hand in the dirt, and also block. And
considering he's 6'5", 240.
Yeah, he's going to be a generational tight end.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to say he's going to be a George Kittle or a Rob Gronkowski, but give him like 3 years and he'll be up there.
Yeah. So I think they can't pass on him there. I think you got to grab him there. All right, Detroit Lions. We're getting into my division.
So the Lions have an interesting perspective because since the last mock draft that Colton and Mikey did, the Lions have traded Matt Stafford to the LA Rams for 2 first-round picks. I believe a second? A third.
It's a third this year, a first next year, and a first the following year, plus Jared Goff.
Yep. Yes. So Jared Goff comes with a 4-year, like
His contract is huge.
60?
It's huge.
$160 million contract.
That sounds right.
Before they would have taken a QB.
Yep. With
there
Matt
is
Stafford being
no way they take a QB right now.
Okay. All right.
So the Lions are also losing Kenny Galladay due to free agency, and I can't see them bring him back.
Okay.
So they, in my honest opinion, are going to go with Jamar Chase.
Okay. Taking the best wide receiver left on the board, probably.
Yes. So he can fit into any scheme because he honestly can fit any scheme. He's that good.
Yeah.
However, the only downside that I think they'll take a chance on, he has a very small sample size in his stats.
Yeah, as he didn't
which
play much
was
this last year.
Last year, due to the constricted schedule, he really only got seen when he was playing with Joe Burrow as his quarterback under Joe Brady's offensive system, which is fantastic.
Yep.
So you're taking a chance to see what his ceiling is without knowing what his floor is. So, but I think he's just too good to not take that chance on.
Yeah. Well,
and worst case scenario, you have another 2 first-round picks next year and another 2 the following year. So you have room to work.
Okay. All right. I mean, I like it. I like it. Now, 8. The Panthers. There's 2 places you could go here. There's 2 places I can go. I see them, if the board falls this way, which would be very, very interesting if it fell this way, I could see them going offensive tackle, or they're going to go quarterback, and they'll grab Justin Fields. So I see them either grabbing Justin Fields and giving him that situation with Christian McCaffrey. Because of how they like to run their offense, Justin Fields, I feel like, would fit in very, very well with them. However, Penei Sewell's sitting on the board. So you're like, well,
yes, he is.
We need that, generational talent. Personally, I don't actually have Penei Sewell as my number 1 tackle. He's my number 2 tackle. We can get to my number one tackle in a little bit because he's a little bit farther down the board. But Penei Sewell is, how old is he? He's like 20. Is he 20? Yeah, he's going to be 21 this year.
21.
He'll be 21 this year. So he's ridiculously young, and his ceiling is almost unimaginable. However, he does need a little bit of work. He does need a little bit of help. You know, he is that generational talent, and he will still be very good at the next level, even just starting on day one. But yeah, there is some issues in his game that could be fixed. I believe that he's still on most people's mock draft boards number one, and rightfully so. He is that good. I just don't know which way to go here. You know what? With him on the board, I think the Panthers are like, it's too good to pass up. And I think they grab Penei Sewell there, and they're like, you know what? We need that player. You know, we do have Teddy B. So I think they roll with Teddy B at least for another year or two, possibly, unless they end up trading for somebody, which is a possibility.
Yeah, that is huge possibility there.
All right. Next up.
So
Denver Broncos.
The Broncos. The Broncos are an interesting situation because they were stricken by so many injuries last year, and I think they at least need the depth in case they do have the injuries. Because once they lost Von Miller to an ankle injury?
Yes.
It was either, it was ankle.
Ankles, yes.
I think they're going to go a linebacker.
Ooh, okay.
So I'm actually going to go with Micah Parsons.
Okay, so they grab Micah Parsons off the board.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
So my reasoning for this is Micah Parsons is hands down a Mike linebacker, which means he's always in the middle. I think Von Miller's still going to be healthy to play this upcoming season. So I think they're going to look for someone who can maybe learn the defense, call some plays, make some adjustments here and there. But he excels in working with multiple fronts, so either a 3-4 or a 3. He loves a blitz-heavy attacking defense.
Yep.
Which I think is what the Broncos are trying to be.
It's what they were.
They're not.
It's what they were.
That's what they were
in their prime.
I think that's what they're gonna. Yeah, they're gonna try to keep that going.
Okay.
To lay on the defense heavy.
Yeah.
To where they don't have to rely on an offense led by
Drew Lock.
Drew Lock.
Yeah.
I was gonna say.
I kind of like the kid. He's got some talent. He's got some talent.
If he can progress like Josh Allen did,
yeah,
he'll be great.
Yeah. That's a tall task, though. That's a tall task. That's pretty tough.
I'm biased, but Josh Allen took immense steps over this second off season.
All right. We got,
and as many of you might know, I'm a huge Bills fan.
Yes.
So I show bias there.
Yes. Got a Bills fan and a Vikings fan now. Before we had a Patriots fan and a... That's really, really funny. Two teams from the same...
Next, you need a Dolphins fan and then a Jets fan.
I don't know any Jets fans.
I don't either.
I don't think they exist anymore. I'm sorry to anyone who's a Jets fan. I don't mind the Jets.
I mean, at some point, if you're not a Jets fan, what are you, a Giants fan?
I would never want to do that either. I don't know. That'd be real hard to follow. That'd be real hard to follow. Next up, though, we got the Cowboys. Get them Cowboys. Team that I... So a lot of people, obviously their number one need on this is offensive tackle. I don't believe that. I don't think that's true. No. I think they just had really bad luck with injuries.
Well, they also had one guy retired, two guys have season-ending injuries.
Yeah, and I think their offensive line could use some help, but I don't think it's their number one need with how terrible their defense was. Their
That is
defense
true.
was atrocious. Specifically, their cornerbacks. Their
Oh,
cornerbacks, aside from Trevon Diggs, were awful. They were
which,
terrible.
yeah.
Granted, their defensive line was terrible too. It was
Yeah,
bad.
Demarcus Lawrence did not warrant that
No,
big of an
no,
extension.
no. It was bad.
Like,
So I think that personally, I think they go corner here or they go edge. And if you're looking at the board, you're like, okay, what do we need? We need a corner. We need an edge rusher. Who do we take here that fits our system? You're grabbing Quiddy Pay there. You need an edge rusher. You
okay.
need somebody who's going to be able to have an amazing first step off the ball, someone who's going to be able to get pressure on the quarterback. And that is exactly what Quiddy Pay brings you. So I don't think they second guess that one. I think that they do consider Patrick Surtain here. I think they would consider him a better cornerback prospect than Caleb Farley. Personally, I have Caleb Farley ranked as my number one pick. I think if the Broncos don't go Micah Parsons, that's exactly who they draft is Caleb Farley because he fits their scheme perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they go Quiddy Pay here because you grab an edge rusher who's going to be probably with your team for the next decade. Now the other New
Yes.
York team,
So
Dim Giants.
for the New York Giants, obviously you need some defensive help,
Yeah.
but with how the board has fallen so far,
Your wide receiver help too.
they're gonna go with Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
Like,
I can
there's no
very
way
much
they
see that.
don't when the board has fallen
Yeah,
that
Jalen
much.
Waddle's sitting there for you. Their wide receivers were bad.
So he is, a, yeah, their wide receivers are atrocious. Daniel Jones can get the job done if he has some talent around him. They'll get Saquon Barkley back next season, but Jalen Waddle, he's going to be great as a slot or as your um, off the line wide receiver. So
Hmm.
you could do end arounds with him. You could do just so much with him because he's a
Mm-hmm.
great route runner, great hands, just physically a beast.
Yeah.
He's a bit on the shorter side in this draft, but I think
How
he
short
makes
is
up
he?
with that with
Oh, he's
how he
5'10", isn't he? Wow.
plays.
He's 5'10".
Uh,
Interesting.
the top five wide receivers besides him are all at least 6'1".
Yep.
So he's 3 inches shorter, which makes a difference, but they'll
Yes.
still take him.
So I think if you're sitting here and you're the San Francisco 49ers, you're like, well, the board has fallen in an interesting way. You could go Patrick Surtain here, but no. They're grabbing Justin Fields. Justin Fields is
Okay.
not going to be there at 12th. I can guarantee it. He will not fall that far. Teams will trade up. They will do something crazy to get that other player.
So in this scenario, if Justin Fields does fall to them, what do they do with Jimmy Garoppolo?
Oh, they trade him. They
Okay.
get rid of Jimmy G. If nothing else, they keep him for another year and have Justin Fields sit behind him. Have him learn for a year, and you keep Jimmy G, and then you get rid of him. Jimmy G's bad.
I think it'd be hilarious if Jimmy G went back to the Pats.
Oh gosh, that would be hilarious. I mean, it could work though. It could work. You know, Belichick
It
can
would
make
be
anybody work.
topical.
I
Well, he
I, I
can't
think
make
if you're
Cam
sitting
Newton
there
work.
though, Jimmy G is just so bad. I have him as one of like the 6th or 7th worst quarterbacks in the NFL. Personally, that's how far I have him down. But so I think you grab Justin Fields there if he falls to you for some unknown reason. All right, but next up you got the no, it's not San Diego anymore. The LA Chargers. It's not San Diego. I do that all the
So
time.
this is going to be the exact same reasoning as with the Bengals.
Dang it.
They,
I know
they
who you're
have
going with.
their
I'm going to be upset.
future quarterback.
Yeah.
They have their franchise. They're going to protect him.
Yeah.
I have them going with Rashawn Slater.
Dang it! I had a feeling you were going that way.
He is the best all-around offensive tackle on the board at this
Yeah.
point. He's amazing at playing in and out, like in blocking out and out blocking in,
Yep.
to where you can run the ball however you want. Passing, I would put him as good to great, but
Okay.
he can get better. Starting out, he'll probably have to work as a center and then work his way out into the tackle role. So I don't
Okay.
think he'll start as a tackle,
Okay.
but I think they're willing to put in the time to develop him into a 10-year-long offensive tackle.
Okay. So you and I have very different thoughts on Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater is my number one tackle in this draft. He is my number one offensive lineman, and he, I believe, is the most day ready offensive lineman in this draft. He could play right tackle, he could play guard, he could play left tackle, he could play center, he could play any position on the field, and he has every bit of technical skill to be in. He is the best offensive lineman right now in the draft. Penei Sewell has the ceiling that's higher than his. But if there's one game that I believe points to how good Rashawn Slater is, you go back to last year, not 2020, but 2019, in the game where they played against Chase Young. Chase Young didn't exist in that game. He didn't get a single pressure. He didn't get a single sack. And I believe he ended the game with 2 total tackles. He made Chase Young, who even at the NFL level wrecked NFL-ready tackles all game long, all year. And Rashawn Slater basically made him non-existent. He didn't exist in that game. And that's why Rashawn Slater just has so much technical talent that I personally, if he fell to the Vikings, that's who I'd love if they took. I don't see that happening though, because again, in the last mock draft with Mikey, I had the Bengals taking him at 5. That's why I had them taking him, which is a lot of people probably think that's completely idiotic, but I think once it comes to draft day, that is a possibility.
There's definitely going to be a lot of trades.
What do we do here?
Up until the draft, throughout the draft. So I definitely can see a couple teams trading up to try to take Rashawn Slater.
Yeah, for sure. Here's an interesting pick. It's my Vikings. I have to think about this objectively, obviously, not being a Vikings fan or anything, where they would go in this situation. And I really don't like how this board has fallen. This would probably be the worst case scenario for the Vikings picking at 14. In this situation, they would trade back probably 90% of the time. They're going to trade back into the later end of the first round, because I think the guy that they would probably take here is someone that they could get. Maybe they trade with the Jets here. They trade back with the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Titans. I think they could get him in that range. I'm going to take him here, though, because I think at the end of the day, it's who they would end up taking, and that's going to be Elijah Vera Tucker. Elijah Vera Tucker, for me, in this draft, is hands down the number one interior offensive lineman in the draft class. It's not even close with 1 and 2. He is by far the most day-ready guard in the draft. A lot of people have him as a tackle for some reason. I don't know where that comes from, because he's very, very clearly a guard in the NFL. That's exactly his build, and exactly how he plays would be great as a guard, which is the number one need of the entire Minnesota Vikings. They need guard help. Their guards are bad. Ezra Cleveland aside, Ezra Cleveland, I believe, is very, very good. He's not a guard, though. He never played guard. But we had to have him there because Riley Reiff was our tackle. Riley Reiff will be gone. He will be gone this offseason. We're not paying Riley Reiff $14 million. That is not happening. So I think we end up either trading him or cutting him. I think trading him is a legit possibility now, though, because he was ranked, I think, in the top 10 for total like tackles by PFF this last season. So I think there's some trade value for Riley Reef there. You kick Ezra Cleveland out to left tackle. You've got your left tackle and right tackle for the future, and Brian O'Neill and Ezra Cleveland. And you draft a stud inside offensive guard in Elijah Vera-Tucker. Now for the New England Patriots.
So obviously, this board would be worst case scenario for the Patriots.
Yes.
Because they desperately need wide receivers and tight ends that can get separation. The Pats, the last 2 years, their receiving core has ranked dead last in separation grade, which means they can't get any separation.
Yep.
When you had Tom Brady, that was not an issue.
Yeah.
Tom Brady could fit that into like within an inch of where it needed to go.
Yeah.
Cam Newton cannot do that.
No. He can run the ball. That's about it.
I also blame him not having receivers to throw to.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it.
So, based on this board, the best receiver they could take is Rashad Bateman.
Ooh, wow.
However, I think that Belichick will look at this and say, see it now I'm second guessing myself.
That's what I love about this. It's so much fun.
Because Patrick Surtain is still on the board.
He is.
But they really don't need a cornerback. No. Unless Gilmore left. Like, if Gilmore demanded a trade, they would take Surtain. But I'm going to go with Rashad Bateman.
Okay. Taking the wide receiver out of Minnesota.
He's great at vertical passing offensive. So if Cam Newton does push the ball down the field, I think he could excel there. And a little side note I put, he was a Minnesota wide receiver. He plays well in cold weather.
Yeah.
People don't really take that into consideration, but in cold weather is a lot worse than getting hit in humid weather.
Yep.
Your bones creak.
Yeah, I think it's something you got to think about, like the type of atmosphere that they've played in and everything like that. So this is an easy pick. I'm not even going to question this one. Yeah. I don't even have to go into this very much. The Cardinals take Patrick Surtain here. I don't think I need to explain that. If this board fell this way, the Cardinals like front office would be sprinting to the podium. They would just, if there's a podium to sprint to, if they don't do another like online one, like
they would be unmuting their mic so quick.
Yeah, they would be like spamming the button somehow to draft this kid. If this fell this way, they would be ecstatic. Patrick Surtain is unbelievable, and they would be so happy with this pick.
Okay, the Raiders.
John Gruden.
John Gruden. If he is smart, he will look at the board and who is left, and he can knock out two birds with one stone.
Ooh.
Joseph Osai.
Oh, wow. Okay. I like that.
Joseph Osai can play either in a 3-4 system as an outside linebacker, or he can play 5-tech in a 4-3. 5-tech basically means that you're the defensive end.
Technique.
Oh, yeah. Like, he's quick, he's strong, and he has good technique with that.
That'd be a really good pick for them. That's a good one. I like that pick. That's a really good pick. You got the Miami Dolphins here. What do the Miami Dolphins do with this pick? They could take Caleb Farley off the board. They don't really need corner, though. They need offensive tackle. They need linebacker. They need running back. Granted, I don't think that they would take a running back here. I think they'd trade back if they wanted a running back. There's no reason to take a running back here. So I think if you're looking at this board, you're like, man, who the heck do we take? And I think you're looking at it and you're like, well, there's some solid players in the board, but you're going to take Jeremiah Owusu. Jeremiah Owusu is I'll pull him up here. He's 6'2", 216. He's I don't even know how to explain how well he fits with the Dolphins. I just think he'd be a great fit for them. He plays unbelievably fast. For how big he is, dude, 6'2", 216. He's a big guy. I think that there's some contention between him and Micah Parsons for who is actually the better overall linebacker. Micah Parsons is the kind of guy who he can hit holes on pass rushes that other people wouldn't even see exist because of his speed and his ability to get at the quarterback that way. But Jeremiah Owusu is somebody who is going to, if you're going to run the ball at the middle, he's going to hit you. He's going to hit you, and he is great at filling holes, and his game tape and how he can read offenses, I think, is a very, very big part of his game. I like Jeremiah Owusu a lot. I think that's where they go. That's a tough pick for me. I'm not entirely sure where the Dolphins go with that pick. That's a tough one.
Me personally, I think they would take Najee Harris or Travis Etienne
See, I think
to
that's
get
who
a
they'd take
feature
too,
back.
but they'd have to trade out of the first round, I believe, for that,
Yeah,
because they have no reason to take
exactly.
them there. Granted, they could take them with their third pick in the second round. I think that might be better for them, just because they do need one of those two, and they will be drafting one of them.
Yes.
For sure.
So, thanks to that little chat there, I was able to think a bit more. I'm stuck with the football team.
I love the football team. I love
So
Alex Smith.
So this is even before the NFL award ceremony is live.
Yeah.
My vote. So
I'd be shocked.
I can see Alex Smith keeping the starting job next year.
Yeah.
Because he played decent to good. And Mac Jones is not worth taking 19th overall.
That's fair.
And he is
fair.
The best quarterback on the board at this point in time.
Yes, he is.
Which you could wait till second round, maybe, depending on team
I don't think
needs.
he falls to the second round with how well he did
No.
at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah.
I mean, they could go offensive tackle here. You got Christian Darrisaw on the board. You got Caleb Farley still on the board. You can go wide receiver with this pick.
I think they're gonna go with Christian Darrisaw.
Okay, taking the offensive tackle, taking the big boy.
Yeah, he's 6'5", 314 pounds, and he excels at zone run.
Yeah, he'd be a great pick for them.
And plus, you protect Alex Smith like the national treasure he is.
Sorry about that, everybody. We are back. Sorry about that. I apologize. That's my bad. Continue with what you were saying, sir.
Yeah, they take an offensive tackle because you protect Alex Smith like the national treasure he is.
He is a national treasure. He's the best. Plus, you gotta give Wildflower that good team.
Oh yeah,
you gotta give Wildflower that good team.
I'd love to see where he goes with that.
I love Wildflower. He's my favorite. He's the greatest. Next up, though, we got the Chicago Bears. Da Bears. Another NFC
Bears.
North team on the board. They need help at a lot of positions. They could use a quarterback.
Namely, quarterback.
The Mitchell Trubisky is not. He is not it. He is not.
Sorry, Colton. I think you mispronounced his name. It's Mitchell Trashbisky.
I've never heard that, but that's great.
Seriously?
Mitchell Trashbisky is on the board. And then you got Nick Foles. Whatever happened to him, I don't even know. But you're looking at the board, and this is a bad board for them. This is a bad board. But I think if you're looking at this board, isn't Allen Robinson's contract up?
Yes.
Yeah, Allen Robinson's contract's up, so if Allen Robinson walks, wide receiver is probably their number one need. So I think you're looking down the board. You're like, okay, who's on the board for wide receiver? The top, what would you say, 4 or 5 wide receivers are already off the board? 4?
4.
No, top 4 wide
Because
receivers are off the
Jamar
board?
Chase, Donta Smith, Jalen Waddle, and Rashad Bateman.
Mhm. So I think if you're looking at this board here, you're like, well, you got Terrence Marshall there. I actually put Terrence Marshall like down in this area, around like the Nico Collins area. I'm not a big fan of his in terms of an overall prospect. I think you're gonna grab Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney's one of those guys who he could work into being an outside type of a guy. I think he's more of a slot guy right off the beginning though. But he has great first step off the ball. He could be great in the slot for him. Great quick pass kind of a guy. He's got a lot of potential in the future. I think he's probably got one of the highest potentials of any wide receiver in this draft class. He does need a bit of work, but he has a ridiculously high ceiling. So I think they grab Kadarius Toney there.
Yeah, and I also put Terrace Marshall Jr. in like 2nd to 3rd round,
Yes.
only because he has severe injury concerns.
Yeah. I don't know why he's ranked 25. That does not make a single lick of sense to me.
Like, so some of my notes I put down is he missed 3 games due to a foot injury.
Okay.
He developed some drop issues towards the end of his college career,
Okay.
and he's just not good at run blocking,
No.
which the Bears, that's what you need.
Yeah, they run the ball a lot, especially with David Montgomery back there. You need to be able to run the ball. Indianapolis Colts are on the board.
So, I've seen some rumors that Andrew Luck might want back into the league. If that is the case, they don't need a quarterback,
No. If you get Andrew Luck back, you don't need a quarterback ever.
but that's a big if.
I don't think he comes back. I
No.
don't see it.
And I still don't see him taking Mac Jones.
Ooh, okay.
So I think they're going to look at this board and they're going to say Caleb Farley is still on this board. We're taking him.
I think that's a very, very, very good pick for them. If Caleb Farley's still on the board at 21, you're jumping up and down. You're jumping up and down for that one.
You say, we did, boys. We got him.
Yeah.
Like,
so the Tennessee
there.
Titans are a weird team. I don't know how to I don't know how to project the Tennessee Titans. I'm still trying to figure out what kind of team they are. Aside from Derrick Henry, I have no idea what they do. I'm
do you mind
very
if I
confused.
put in my 2 cents for what the Titans are?
Yes.
The Titans are Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
If Derrick Henry tears an ACL or has some sort of season-ending injury, they will not win.
Gone. Their whole season's gone.
So everyone would say, but Ryan Tannehill's doing great. He excels at play action, and Derrick Henry sets up the play action.
Yep.
And defense is garbage. Like, sure, they can put up 35 points, but what's the point if their defense lets up 42?
Yeah. Doesn't really help a whole lot. So, with this pick here, I think you have to look at edge for him. Edge is a big need. And you look at the edge people, you got Gregory Rousseau there. Unbelievable talent, unbelievable ceiling. I don't think he fits what they want very well, though. I'm not super high on Jalen Phillips either. A lot of people do like Jalen Phillips. I don't think he's as good as his 32 rank suggests. I think they take Azeez Ojulari here. Man, oh my gosh, I can't speak today. Azeez Ojulari is very young. Is he a sophomore, really?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, he's real young.
Wow, I didn't know that. He's a 3-down kind of guy. You know, he can play 2, he can play 3, he can play all over the field. I've heard some whispers of him being able to play inside. Like, looking at him like an interior defensive lineman even on some plays. Obviously, he is much more of an edge rusher, but you could theoretically kind of stick him on some of the inside or on the inside a little bit. Obviously not nose tackle style, but you could have him running up the middle, and any guard is going to have a lot of trouble with him. Granted, that's not where you play him all game long, but as a rotation running
Yeah.
in there,
See, if he was to gain about 25 pounds of muscle, I'd say
mhm,
yes, hands down. But at 240, that's a bit light for an interior lineman for my
yeah,
taste.
it would be more of like a stand up interior defensive
Mm-hmm.
lineman's kind of more what I'm thinking. Kind of like with what the Vikings did with Daniil Hunter against the Saints in the game 3 years ago. Where they had Everson Griffin and Daniil Hunter both line up on the inside instead of the outside, and they wrecked shop against Drew Brees. I think that is a very underutilized system, and I feel like a lot of teams would benefit from it. So I think you could stick him in there. Obviously, he'd be your edge rusher. He's a 3-down edge rusher. You're getting a great player in him. He's got a lot of upside. He's got a very he's got a very high floor, I think is what you're looking at with him.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to get a good pass rusher, and you don't really have to worry about him like busting too much. Obviously, can't really say that no player can bust because any of them can really. But I think you're taking a very safe bet by picking him at that spot.
Yeah. So
The
the
Jetties.
Jets.
The Jetties.
So the Jets would have already gotten their quarterback.
Yes.
They have a decent wide receiver. I
Okay.
honestly see them going with, hold on, let me bring up my notes. I have them bring in Travis Etienne.
Ooh. Travis Etienne taking him there? Okay.
So the running back right now is Frank Gore.
the the never aging
Frank
wonder.
Gore.
The
Old
never
man
aging
Frank.
wonder.
So
This dude's gonna play till he's 50.
he is. Travis can fit into any scheme he wants to. But what he does better than Najee Harris is he can be like Alvin Kamara and catch out of the backfield. And he's
Yeah.
amazing at that,
Yes.
which will add pass catcher and a feature running back, which is an offensive weapon the Jets need terribly. Plus, with the right offensive scheme, he will be a monster. Because if they're creative with how they use him, teams won't know how to defend against them.
Yep. Okay. Interesting. I think
Even
that's a great
though
pick
I
for them.
want Travis for the Bills, he won't go to the Bills.
No. He could fall that far. He could easily fall that far. I just don't think the Bills would take him there.
No, we're going to take defense.
Yeah. All right, Pittsburgh Steelers. You're looking, you're like, well, what do we need? We need offensive tackle. We need cornerback. We need running back because their running backs are terrible. Obviously, Najee Harris does not fit at that spot. He could fit the system. He could fit the system pretty decently. But obviously it's too high to take Najee Harris there. I think if you're looking at the board, I think you're taking Jalen Mayfield here. Offensive tackle out of Michigan. I like him overall as a player. He's just a really, really big presence. He's probably a day one starter as your right tackle. They need a lot of help in a lot of positions, and I feel like Jalen Mayfield can play multiple positions if you needed him to. His size isn't ideal for a guard. I guess depending on the scheme that you're running. I think at this point you're kind of just taking the best offensive lineman available, and that at this point it's Jalen Mayfield. Jaguars second pick.
Jags get their second pick.
Mm-hmm.
So they just took Trevor Lawrence.
Yes.
I
Their
think they
future.
picked defensively.
Okay.
So, granted, I didn't watch a lot of the Jacksonville games this year, as I believe most people didn't. But
Yeah.
I have them taking the best corner on the board, J.C. Horn.
That is a
He
great
also
pick for them.
Yep. He excels in zone coverage. He's 6'1". I think he could play as your corner number one, play the slot, just mix and match who he wants to match up against.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he can cover some of the top receivers in this league, especially if he develops a little better.
Yeah. He's really long too. He's a very long physical type of a player.
He is lanky.
Oh, the Browns. I think this might be the team I know the least about in terms of where they might go here. Obviously, edge rusher's a big need. I don't know how they feel about Jalen Phillips, though. Gregory Rousseau could go here. They could go corner. But at this point, you're kind of reaching at the cornerback position with Asante Samuel Jr. being the next pick. I think he's a solid day 2 pick. Definitely not a first rounder, though. You could use linebacker. You could. Why is quarterback a need?
What?
Quarterback is their 5th need.
Well,
in what world
their future's Baker Mayfield.
In what world do you need a quarterback when you have Baker Mayfield? I don't understand.
I mean, granted, Baker Mayfield's not the go out there and win you a game type of quarterback, but he's
really
a
good
quarterback.
That's like if they had running back on their team need list.
God, if they had running back on there, I'd say that this website is a joke.
Yeah, there's something wrong with it. I think if you're looking at this board, you need somebody who's God. I don't even know. I think at this point they're probably gonna take best player available, and I think they go Zaven Collins here. Linebacker out of Tulsa. I just don't even see. I don't have great ideas for this one with them because I just don't know where they go here with the players that I would normally mock to them off the board.
Offense are pretty solid.
Yeah, Zaven Collins is one of those linebackers who can kind of do everything. He can rush the ball, he can play the run, he can drop into pass coverage. So I think you're just kind of getting the best overall player available. He's probably actually the best overall linebacker left or on the board at all. In terms of overall ability, he's probably the best on the board. Whereas Mike Parsons is very much a pass rushing type of a linebacker, and Jeremiah Owusu is very much a coverage type of a linebacker. I think you get a little bit of both of it with Zaven Collins. So I think they just fill a need with a very, very good player.
So, the Ravens. In my honest opinion, the Ravens are one piece away being a Super Bowl contender. They need a number 1 wide receiver.
Ooh.
That is not in this draft at this point.
You don't think that's Hollywood Brown?
No. Hollywood Brown is number 2 best.
Okay.
I think in the offseason they try to go for Kenny Galladay.
Ooh, that would be scary.
Yes.
That'd be real scary.
So they're going to look at this board, and a lot of people are going to think that this is a reach.
I love reaches. I love reaches.
I am going to have them take...
You taking who I think they take?
Trayvon Moehrig.
Yeah. Let's go. I love this.
So, Trayvon Moehrig is a safety. He is 6'1", 208. He will do amazing in a cover 1 system or cover 3, which, if you don't know, the Ravens like to blitz a lot into a cover 1 man blitz.
Okay.
That is what they run most of the time, which I think he will adapt to this fantastically. I just think it will take their defense to the next level. They'll get their offense through free agency.
Yep.
And I think that the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens are going to be the top 3 teams in the AFC.
Oh, for sure. I love this pick. Personally, I believe Trayvon Moehrig is one of the 20 best overall players in this draft at all at any position. I love him. He could go. I could see him going as far as high as 14. I could see the Vikings taking him possibly if they don't think he'll be there, because obviously he won't be there in the third round. The Vikings don't have a second round pick, which upsets me. But,
and there's not many great safeties in this
the
draft.
drop off between number 1 and number 2, between Trevon Moehrig and Richie Grant and Javon Holland, is a big, big drop.
So if you can get this early and get the best one, go for it.
It's a great pick. The Ravens are always one of those teams that get sneaky great picks at the end of the draft. It always upsets
Lamar
me.
Jackson.
It always upsets me.
Yep.
The New York Saints are a weird one as well. You need corner. You need wide receiver. I think that's where they're going to go, is wide receiver. It was very, very, very evident when Michael Thomas went down that if Michael Thomas is down, their only offensive threat is Alvin Kamara. That's really about it. So I think you have to grab wide receiver here. I'm going to kind of make a very interesting pick here. A lot of people will see this as a reach because he would probably be there for their sick pick in the second round, but I'm having them grab Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay. I am very, very high on my draft board of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Okay. I think he'd be that perfect number 2 piece behind Michael Thomas for them. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. I am, just from watching his tape, he is, behind maybe Rondale Moore, I think he's the next best wide receiver left in this draft class. You look like you have concerns about it.
I like the pick. It's just to put in perspective for how much of a reach that might be.
Yeah.
I didn't even do any research on him, and I have 12 pages of research. So that's
Amon-Ra St. Brown is very far down on the board. I think he's ranked in like the 60s or 70s in like overall ranking.
Okay.
But
I cut mine off at like 65.
Yeah. Amon-Ra St. Brown for me is, I forget his size off the top of my head. He's 6'1", 195. He's very, very agile. He's got great body control. He'd be a great slot guy right off the bat, but he could eventually move outside. He'd be that. His body control is his big thing. His ability to go up and get catches and make catches on the sideline, and his ability to control exactly where his body is at all times is what kind of puts him above some of these other wide receivers on the board for me.
Okay.
That's why I think he'd be a great pick for them.
The way you're describing him, the best comparison I could put is like Cole Beasley.
In today's NFL, he's faster than Cole Beasley.
Yeah.
If you're talking just about an overall NFL comparison, gosh, that's a tricky question. I'd kind of put him kind of as an Anquan Bolden type.
Oh.
In terms of body control, because like Anquan Bolden could take people off the top. And he was just an overall great wide receiver, but Anquan Bolden had great body control. I think in terms of overall body control, you're kind of looking more in that range. Maybe a Steve Smith Sr.
Okay.
Kind of that range. Obviously, those are very high-level comparisons, but I'm just trying to think of like the type of body control that he has is very similar to that. I love him. I might, to be totally honest, it's probably Kadarius Toney and then him as my number 5 overall wide receiver, with Rashawn Bateman being right behind them.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
But that's just me.
So we have the Packers. So I can make the smart decision on where I think they'll go.
You should make the smart decision.
Which I will, but just to preface this, last year...
You could give him Mac Jones.
Last year, they drafted Jordan Love when they had Aaron Rodgers, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Second round, they took a running back.
pick.
when they had one of the best
I
running
know.
backs in the league.
And then they drafted a third string tight end.
So they're going to take Terrace Marshall Jr.
Okay.
They're going
That's
to
fair.
learn from their mistake, and they're going to take a wide receiver. He's going to learn under one of the best wide receivers in this league,
Oh, yeah.
Devontae
100%.
Adams.
I'd say he's probably 1 or 2.
Yes. And he will turn into a monster if he can fix the drop issues,
Yeah.
the blocking issues, and can just stay healthy. And at that point on the board, if he's still there, they take him.
Yeah. I think he probably will be there for him, and I think this is a great pick for them, and it's probably who they end up taking. So this is an interesting
Mac
pick
Jones.
as well. You got the Buffalo Bills. I'm picking for his team here. Obviously, their top needs are corner, linebacker, offensive tackle, and edge are the top 4 needs here. You're looking at the board, and you're like, well, you got Nick Bolton here. Nick Bolton doesn't really fit the system. I don't like Nick Bolton at this pick. Tevin Jenkins and Liam Eckenberg are good tackles. I don't think they're deserving of the 30 pick. This is another team I think could trade out of the first round and just hop back into the second round, pick up maybe another 4th out of it. You got Jalen Phillips there. I don't think that there's any other place that they can go looking at the board aside from taking a shot at Gregory Rousseau. Gregory Rousseau is one of those types of players who, at the end of the day, could end up being the number 1 edge rusher in this class. Like once he's in the NFL for a couple years, you could look back on it and he's the number 1 pass rusher in this class. His physical ability is unbelievable. He just has very little experience with like his hand technique, and he doesn't have the best first step off the ball. Like his launch off the ball is not very good overall. But if you can train up some of his more technical abilities, he could be an absolute monster on the field. Now, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
This is assuming they lose tomorrow. It is Saturday today. The Super Bowl is tomorrow. This is a pre-Super Bowl mock draft, so I have to get this up probably by 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Yeah, we are assuming that the Bucs will lose, and it's a fairly good assumption.
I feel like it is. I feel like that's a good bet.
So, looking at this board, Najee Harris is still up there, but they have Leonard Fournette.
That's like a Ronald Jones. I love Ronald Jones.
Yeah, so they're definitely not going to go running back.
Okay.
I don't see Brady lasting that much longer in this league.
Okay.
He played great this year. He has 1 more year under contract.
Are you going to go where I went?
They're going to go Mac Jones.
Yes! I love this
because
pick so
Brady
much.
is still under contract for 1 year. Brady will start next year, and Mac Jones will learn under one of the most winning quarterbacks this league
most
has
winning
ever
quarterback
seen.
ever.
Yeah, the most winning quarterback.
This would be the perfect place for Mac Jones. This would be literally the most perfect spot he could end up in.
And here we go with the Chiefs, who they think need a wide receiver.
I hate this pick. I hate that I'm going to make this pick because it terrifies the absolute crap out of me. Okay? I hate this pick because if this pick happens, we're all screwed. Okay? They're going to take Rondale Moore. Okay? Rondale Moore is horrifying on the field. You can't keep up with him. You cannot keep up with him on the field. He has great route running. He's got unbelievable speed. You're just adding another Tyreek Hill. You're basically adding a second Tyreek Hill and McCole Hardman. You have 3 of these people.
And Sammy Watkins.
We don't need more of this. But it's who they'd take there. They need another wide receiver, another solid wide receiver 2, which is weird. That's their number 1 need. I don't think McCole Hardman's more than a number 3 receiver, and Sammy Watkins is injured all the time. I think behind Tyreek Hill, that's not named Travis Kelce, because Travis Kelce's a freak in nature. But behind Tyreek Hill, there's really not a whole lot of like second level. This is your number 2, and Rondale Moore is that player. And if they add Rondale Moore to a team that has no holes, you're looking at a 3rd Super Bowl next year.
Oh, we're looking at like 5 Super Bowls within the next 5 years.
I don't know how you stop them. I can't think of a way to stop them. I can't.
So the only way to stop them is a salary cap lower.
He doesn't have to cut everybody.
That's
pretty much it. Yeah, that's about it.
They have built their team to be speed.
Yep.
No one can compete.
I am speed.
Because so look at when the Bucs played the Chiefs in Week 6.
Yep.
Tyreek Hill had 200 yards on 6 catches and 2 touchdowns in the first quarter.
I don't want to think about it. Don't remind me, because that's how the
tomorrow.
Super Bowl is going to go, and I don't want to think about it. I don't want to think about it. It's gonna be a train wreck. It's gonna be a train wreck. Granted, in my my Super Bowl prediction, I actually like got out the stats for these 2 teams. Like I wrote everything down, and I had to like really take a look at these 2 teams, and they are really not that far apart.
No,
they are really not. But the biggest thing is the Buccaneers' passing defense is ranked 21 in the NFL.
Whereas their
rushing offense is 28. Their rushing offense is 28 in the NFL. That is not going to do it.
It's pretty much going to be can Brady win us a Super Bowl?
Yeah, can Tom Brady pull off a miracle here is basically what it's going to be. And we've all learned, don't bet against Tom Brady. So it could happen.
I've known that for 20 years.
Yeah, it could happen. He could go out there and throw 7 touchdowns, and we're talking about Tom Brady as the greatest player in any sport ever. You know, it could happen, I guess, but
I mean, aside from like Michael Jordan and LeBron James, he is the greatest.
At this point, he would be, if he did that, he would be better than LeBron James by a good leap and bound, and he'd be on the same level as Michael Jordan. The only one who, as for like a sport basis, as all sports, I think the only one who might still be above him is probably Wayne Gretzky.
Oh,
for the NHL, because it's kind of impossible to do what he did. But then again, it's almost impossible to do what Tom Brady's done. So like it's kind of 2 flips of a coin here. But that was a very, very, very fun, interesting mock draft that I think we did.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was very interesting. Make sure that you guys all let us know down in the comments what you think of our picks. If you guys think that we got some wrong, if you think we got some right, let us know. We'd love to hear back from you. Thank you, sir, for joining me in this. It was absolutely wonderful having you here.
Yeah, had a blast myself.
Yeah. We'll definitely be doing a few more of these. I'll be adding kind of more people. There's also some fun stuff planned for the future. For instance, I'm adding some more people to this. But Steve and I will definitely be back doing some more mock drafts as the off season goes on. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end it off, sir?
If you want to, Bills Mafia is always welcoming people onto the bandwagon.
Everyone join Bills Mafia. Go get your shirt. Go get your gear. Get it all and join Bills Mafia. It needs to happen. We need this.
Be sure to jump through a table.
I still love that Tom did that. I love that Tom did that. I love that so much.
Some nights I just spend the time in bed just scrolling through watching Bills Mafia videos.
Jumping through tables. It's wonderful. It's the best.
Some of them are on fire.
I mean, hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
But with that, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate it greatly. It's been a heck of a time. This has been a lot of fun recording these videos. I'm definitely going to be recording a lot more of them. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. It would mean the absolute world to me. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at AbsoluteColton so you can get all of the updates for everything that is coming soon to the channel. Make sure you guys join my Discord, which should be down in the description below if I remember to put it down there, because I didn't in the first one. I didn't even put my Twitter in the first one, so let's see if I remember how to do it. But we'll see. Make sure you guys go check out the other football videos on the channel. I have another mock draft with my boy Mikey. I also just posted an hour ago a Super Bowl prediction. So if you guys want to go check that out before the Super Bowl happens, because by the time this comes out, it'll probably be like 2 o'clock Central Time. The Super Bowl will be happening in like 3 hours. So if you guys want to go check that out, make sure you guys definitely do that. And with that, I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, everybody.